Good morning, children. Children, we continue with the second half of the chapter, that is civilizing the native and educating the nation. On page 100, you can see the picture of William Carey. William Carey was a Scottish missionary who helped to establish the Serember mission. Now, what is Serember mission? Christian missionaries in India in the 19th century felt that education should attempt to improve the moral character of the people, and morality could be improved only through Christian education. Until 1813, the East India Company was opposed to missionary activities in India. It feared that missionary activities would provoke reactions amongst the local population and it will make them suspicious of the British presence in India. But over the 19th century, missionary schools were set up all over India, and after 1857, however, the British government in India was reluctant to directly support missionary education. There was a feeling that any strong attack on local custom, practice, beliefs, and religious ideas might enrich the native opinion. Now, what happened to local schools? Do you have any idea of how children were taught in pre British times? Have you ever wondered whether they went to school? And if they were going to school, what happened to these schools under the British rule? We have the report of William Adam. You can also see a picture of a Pathshala, that is the school of that time. In the 1830s, William Adam, a Scottish missionary to the districts of Bengal and Bihar, he had been asked by the company to report on the progress of education in vernacular schools. The report Adam produced is very interesting. Adam found that there were over 1 lakh Pathshalas in Bengal and Bihar. These were small institutions with 20 students in each Pathshala, and around 20 lakh students were being taught in the Pathshalas. These institutions were set up by wealthy people. Sometimes it was also started by a guru. The system of education was flexible. Few things that you associate with schools today were present in the Pathshalas at that time. There was no fee, no printed books, no school building, no benches, chairs, blackboards, separate classes, roll call registers, no examination, no timetable. In some places, classes were held under banyan tree, whereas in some places, classes were held in the corner of the village shop or temple or even at Guru's home. Fee depended on the income of the parents. The rich had to pay more fees. Teaching was oral. Guru decided what to teach in accordance with the needs of the students. Students were not separated into different classes. They all sat together in one place. The Guru interacted separately with groups of children and different levels of teaching. Adam discovered that this flexible system was suited to the local needs because the rural children often worked in fields and the Pathshala started once again when the crops had been cut and stored. This meant that even children of peasant families could study. New routines, new rules. Up to the mid 19th century, the company was concerned primarily with higher education in India, so it allowed the local pathshalas to function without much interference. It was only after 1854 that the company decided to improve the system of vernacular education. It felt that this could be done by introducing order within the system, imposing routines, establishing rules, ensuring regular inspections. And how was this to be done? The company appointed a number of government pundits, each in charge of looking after 4 to 5 schools. The task of the pandit was to visit the Pathshala and improve the standard of teaching. He was even supposed to submit periodic report and take classes according to regular timetable. Teaching was now to be based on textbook learning, and the system of annual examination was also introduced. Students were asked to pay regular fees, attend regular classes, sit on fixed seats, and obey the new rules or discipline. Pathshalas which accepted the new rules were supported through government grants, that is, they were given aid by the British. And those who were unwilling to work within the new system received no government support. The discipline of the new system of schooling demanded regular attendance even during harvest time, and inability to attend school came to be seen as indiscipline, as evidence of the lack of desire to learn. The agenda for national education. Just like the British officials, yes, they were thinking about education in India. At the same time, educated Indians also wanted a wider spread of education. Impressed with the development in Europe, some Indians felt that Western education would help to modernize the Indians. They urged the British to open more schools, colleges, universities, and spend more money on education. There were other Indians, however, who reacted against Western education. Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore were two such individuals. Now, in this chapter, which has paragraph which has been highlighted, you can see I have written down by the side views of Mahatma Gandhi on English education. Mahatma Gandhi was not in favor of English education. Yes, he argued that colonial education created a sense of inferiority in the minds of the Indians. It made them see Western civilization as superior and destroyed the pride they had in their own culture. There was poison in this education. It was sinful. It enslaved Indians and cast an evil spell on them. Charmed by the West, appreciating everything that came from the West, Indians educated in these institutions began admiring British rule. Mahatma Gandhi wanted an education that would help Indians to rediscover their sense of dignity and self respect. During the national movement, he had urged the students to leave educational institutions in order to show to the British that Indians were no longer willing to be enslaved. Mahatma Gandhi strongly felt that Indian languages ought to be the medium of teaching. Education in English crippled Indians. It distanced them from their own social surroundings. It made them strangers in their own lands, speaking a foreign tongue, despising their own culture. The English education did not know how the English educated did not know how to relate to the masses. Western education, Mahatma Gandhi said, focused on reading and writing rather than oral knowledge. It valued textbooks rather than life experiences and practical knowledge. Mahatma Gandhi argued that education ought to develop a person's mind and soul. Literacy or simply reading and writing by itself did not count as education. People had to work with their hands. They should learn craft and know how to operate things. This would develop their minds and their capacity to understand. As nationalist sentiment spread, other thinkers also began thinking of the system of national education. And now we are going to read about Tagore's view on English education. Tagore's Abode of Peace. Many of you must have heard of Shanti Niketan. Do you know why it was established and by whom it was established? Shantiniketan was established by Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore started an institution in 1901. As a child, Tagore hated going to school. He found it very suffocating, oppressive. The school appeared like a prison, for he could not do what he felt like. So, while other children listened to the teacher, Tagore's mind would wander far away. The experience of his school days in Calcutta shaped Tagore's ideas of education. On growing up, he wanted to set up a school where the child was happy, where she could be free and creative, where she was able to explore her own thoughts and desires. Tagore felt that childhood ought to be a time of self learning outside the rigid and restricting discipline of the schooling system as set up by the British. Teachers had to be imaginative, understanding, and help the child develop her curiosity. According to Tagore, the existing schooling system killed the natural desire of the child to be creative and her sense of wonder. Tagore was of the view that creative learning could be encouraged only within the natural environment. So he set up a school about 100 kilometers away from Calcutta and named it as Shantiniketan, meaning abode of peace. In many senses, Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi thought about education in similar ways. There were, however, differences too. Gandhiji was highly critical of Western civilization and worship of machines and technology, whereas Tagore wanted to combine elements of modern Western civilization and what he saw as the best within Indian tradition. He emphasized the need to teach science and technology at Shanti Niketan along with art, music, and dance. Many individuals and thinkers were thus thinking about the way of national education system, how it could be fashioned. Some wanted changes within the system set up by the British and felt that the system could be extended so as to include wider section of people, while others urged that alternative systems should be found. But who was going to define what truly national? But who was going to define what was truly national? The debate about what this national education ought to be continued till the independence. Children, on the next page, I have solved a little bit of exercise for you. In match the following, of course, you can see the arrows have been drawn and pointing to the right answer. And in the second exercise, whether true or false, I have written down opposite the statement whether it is true or false. Thank you so much, children.